I'm a commentary writer, so what do I do as a commentary writer that frustrates you?
I would say bog me down. One of the things that we were taught in seminary, we were taught to exegete the text and doing exegeticals, and how long that process took. And oftentimes when I'm reading through a commentary, I feel as if I'm kind of back in seminary again, doing some of the work, because part of the discerning process was to even discover, if the commentary, in our opinion, is making the right moves in its interpretation.
Okay, so it's so complex and there's so much there that you're having a hard time getting a sense of what's going on in the passage? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sometimes that is true, especially when you have to do a funeral.
Okay.
Or especially when you have to visit someone is graduating from high school, elementary school, or just take care of governmental forms. So when you have this week full of activity, and now you're faced with trying to understand the text, and now you're trying to understand the commentary, it poses difficulty.
One of the obvious questions that we have to ask, all of us have written commentaries, why another commentary set?
Actually, that was the question I asked when they first asked me to be involved in this. In fact, they asked me to be involved, and I said, no, we don't need another commentary series. There's plenty out there, and I just have other things to do.
Okay, who is they?
This was Jack Kuhatchik at Baker, who asked me that. And I said, unless you could think of something that needed to be done by a commentary series that wasn't out there, that would be another case. And he said, well, I was hoping you had some ideas.
Okay. All right.
And that led to our meeting with Jack and Mark and myself to brainstorm what would that look like, to do something that's needed and that hasn't been done.
We actually went on a retreat to work this out.
Really?
We went away with Jack. I think
Switzerland.
I think it was his brother's house in Dallas. Is that where it was?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah, another country. We went to Dallas and just talked and worked. What do I want to see in a commentary? What hasn't been done? And we began to put together some prototypes, even in that context.
You have a lot of commentaries that have gone before, right? And so I feel pressure to interact with what other people have said, partly because I learn from them, right? But at times, we as commentary writers can become very technical, can get into long arguments that you as a pastor may not be that interested in. And at the same time, there's a ditch on the other side of the road where a commentary may be strictly devotional, may not really be grounded in the text. Teach the Text is really trying to integrate a solid knowledge of the text with devotion to God. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you make your way into my study, that's what you will find. You'll find shelves full of very academic commentaries that offer all types of minutia on grammatical issues, and then right next to them, are the more fluffy devotional commentaries that get into story, are more bent towards application, sentimental. And I find myself pulling both off the shelf and doing my best to bridge these two.
Try to bring them together.
I mean, that's my world.
Okay.
I'm eager to have a commentary that can quickly and concisely, with an economy of words, get to the heart of the matter. What's the message of the text?
What are the kind of tools you use as you're preparing to preach?
Mm-hmm. For the not just the exegetical.
Everything, all of the above.
Right.
What types of tools do you use?
I began, thank the Lord I had good training in languages, so I always began, studying the text in its original language, Hebrew or Greek, and I'm not claiming to be the world's best Hebrew or Greek scholar, because I'm not, but I use what I have, and I start there, and I'll use some of the dictionaries and concordances, and then try to do my own work. But once I've done some of my own work, then I go to the commentaries, because they're gifts to the church. I think of commentators in that Ephesians 4, 11, and 12 sense. They are some of the gifted people that God has given to the church to help them in their ministry. So I turn to commentaries and and try to evaluate what I've done and to get insights. And at that point, once I arrive, I think my exegesis is done when I get to the top of the mountain and say, all right, I understand, I believe what the author's intent is, and I understand the flow of the passage, and I can identify in a sentence, here's the main idea. But then, getting down is often the challenge. It's like guides that take people up, Mount Everest for 65 grand a pop. The hard part is not getting up, it's getting down. What I find is some commentaries will provide some thoughts about how this may apply to a 21st century audience, but I think it's more important that I know the people that I shepherd, and I know what they're facing, what their challenges are. So I think it's a combination of spending time with people, even visiting some of them in their jobs, reading, in the culture. I mean, even if it's a daily newspaper or Time magazine, just to know what's going on.
So do you use a range of commentaries then? Is that how you get at the various levels you're trying to hit?
I do. I probably use a few less than I did initially. I try to identify 3 or 4 good ones. One maybe more technical that works in the Greek or the Hebrew, depending on what book I'm in, and maybe some mid-level commentaries that especially ones that would work with the flow of the text.
Well, let me ask you this: as a commentary writer, what do we do that frustrates you? What do commentary writers do that frustrates you in the process of dealing with a commentary?
Sure, I think a couple of things. One is stating the obvious, and I think then there's a certain amount of wading through material. I say, all right, I know this. Let's get to the meat. Let's get to the good stuff. I think the other part, and maybe this is a fault more of older commentaries, is dealing so much with issues of philology or history that theology never gets addressed.
So sometimes if you have more critical commentaries that are very substantive, you can go to what you need. But a commentary like this that really gets to the point, very strong, solid foundation in terms of the exegesis, but it really clearly helps you see what's going on. You're saying that's what's really helpful about it.
Absolutely. I was pleasantly surprised that I was in the back of my mind. I was thinking that maybe this commentary is going to be kind of one of those easy reads that you can just kind of slip through really, really fast and really not have to think about much.
Right.
Which is something that I really don't need.
Right. Which means there's not much there.
Absolutely.
Right. So you're drowning in shallowness at that
exactly.
point. Right.
Yeah, I was trying to say it in a nice way.
Yeah. Right. Right. That's okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I was pleasantly surprised that there's a lot of substance there to help you to understand the text and to help you to think through some of those issues as well.